Mr. Suhail is a civil engineer by profession and a veteran of PMP since 2002, holding all the 8 certifications of PMI in addition to Prince 2 practitioner and complete series of Scrum certification. A regular keynote speaker in Pakistan on PMI and other noted events. Holds 35 plus years of construction and project management experience in Pakistan, Army Corps of Engineers, NADRA, and SysComp International Limited, the Professional Development Center of Excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Suhail.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I welcome you all to this exciting session, although I do understand that not many people are interested in construction, but all those who are interested and who are here, I am trying to coin an idea which I hope would catch up in future and would be very interesting. Yesterday I was talking to Dr. William, and I especially requested him that he should be here because he is a respected professor and he has done a lot of research. So I would like to instigate some debate on what I am going to be saying. So it is going to be more interactive session. We will be discussing things out because this is mostly an advanced session and we do not want to go into a lot of definitions and basic stuff. The learning objectives of this session are, firstly, we want to explore the possibility whether the concept of agile is possible in construction or not. Secondly, we want to see if lean and agile can be married together. Yes, we do know and understand that lean and agile has been married together for IT and many other areas, but is it possible for construction? Can we use it together? And thirdly, can we ever have lean agile project management? So these are the 3 objectives which we are trying to discuss here, and we will see how this progresses. If you read through the paper which you can download, it basically covers these areas. First of all, it introduces the lean and agile, then lean and lean in construction, some debate on that. Then we have got a little discussion on the possibility of agility in construction, which is a very difficult topic. Normally construction engineers won't really agree to this concept, but this is what possibility we have to see. Then can lean and agile be used in unison, and ultimately a proposed application of lean and agile in project management and construction. You see, I am not going to be proposing any model as such, just a possibility. So do not expect this to be a very in-depth research, but this is just an instigation to get you going on this path of lean agile project management in construction. Basically, when we talk about lean and agile, some people consider them to be one and the same, whereas they're not. They are both 2 separate approaches, but their ways do cross at some times. Some identified relationships do exist between lean and agile, and their development path through the history has been parallel, almost parallel. You know, they have been succeeding each other, and they both have developed almost in the same time frame. They have some common features, they have some differences and intrusions, and as I said before, sometimes they are mistaken to be the same, but they are not the same. Now the first question is, as I said, I will not be giving you any definitions. Let us have from you, what is your perception of agile and lean? First, let us talk about lean. A very brief definition anyone can give me. How do you perceive lean? And we don't want to go for a book definition. We want to go for a very simple definition. Yes, sir.
Get the waste out.
The waste out, yes. And once you will get the waste out, what will happen? Anybody? We will be more productive. No waste, more productive, and probably you will be doing things just in time. You will be improving efficiencies and effectiveness. So waste leads to all these things, and lean is all about removing the waste. And how do you remove the waste? You identify the value out of your project. Then you establish the value stream, and then you ensure that in that value stream there is no wastage, and whatever is supposed to be produced is produced just in time. Are all of you with me on this? As far as lean is concerned, you see, lean is not that difficult. Now, anybody from IT or software development, what do you think? How do you take Agile?
Well, we do a form of Agile. We use Scrum.
Okay.
We focus on smaller tasks so that we can have.
Smaller tasks. Why do you do smaller tasks?
So then I think that if you're able to complete those tasks, you can see
You can see progress.
progress, yes.
Anything else except for the progress? Why do we do small little tasks in small groups, in small iterations?
So you
Yes?
don't build unnecessary features.
Okay. You mean you are closing the doors for the flexibility? No more changes?
No.
Yes?
Agile's all about change.
Agile is all about flexibility, right? So,
I mean, if you do software development, for example,
right.
waterfall methodology, and you say, well, we need to build in reporting functions. Well, you don't know until really you're kind of into it. You know, you have to
Exactly.
that last responsible moment to
Right,
decide
right.
what reporting functions that are going all of them.
Okay. So,
About changing, the requirements as you go.
yeah, it's all about change. It's all about change. And we want to remain flexible. And we want to accept change while the project is running. We are interacting with the customer, or interacting with the stakeholders, and whatever and wherever they want. Any change in an ongoing project, we are facilitating that, except for the small little iteration we are working on right now. Only that portion we don't want it to be bothered. Right? That's what she said, and this is what it means. Now, after having had these two definitions, are we all on it? If I am wrong somewhere, it is discussion. You can put me right. Okay? Now, on one side, we talk about lean, which reduces waste and improves your efficiency, gives value. On the other hand, we have a mechanism which can do the job faster, more flexibly, and which invites change, accepts change. Are they the same? Okay, if I classically want to be lean, can someone tell me what are the hurdles to Agile, to becoming Agile? If I'm applying lean, what are the hurdles to being Agile in that kind of project? Yes, sir?
In lean, I've got no backup,
Right.
just enough.
Exactly.
And so in Agile, if you want me to be flexible,
Exactly.
it kind of works against it.
Exactly. This is the point. They are working against. Now, if that be the case, then why are people talking about lean and agile, the LeAgile concept and Agile lean concept? Anybody who can put me wise on that? Yes, we do understand lean and agile are two diverse paths. How can you marry them up? Yes?
One has to be the other, I think, or maybe one has to be the priority and the other one is complementary. And I would think that Agile is then the priority, if I were to take a guess.
That is again a very wonderful point. You see, what he is saying is that lean and agile, one out of them could work under the other. So leading thing could be, maybe lean could be leading, and you could be doing certain things within that project which are agile. On the other hand, I would ask you to reverse the relationship. What if it is an agile project and you are trying to create value out of it? Look at yet another scenario. What if both of these things, lean and agile in your project, are of equal value and you have to strike a balance between them. So what if we can conduct a small little discussion in the class in groups and come up with which should be the better way of marrying up lean and agile? Will it be fine with you? Yes? So let us make groups of 5 to 6 people, and you can sit around, and then whomsoever will be the leader of each group would tell us what is your findings, right? So we can do it. Okay, time is up. So do we have any conclusions? Each team has some conclusions. I know what you were discussing, there were some very interesting dimensions coming out of it. Not only what we asked you to do, but lot many other things. People were talking about contracts and involving customer and all that. That is a really very interesting discussion. And I need a lot many points coming out of it. First of all, let us decide the basic question which we asked, whether we can use lean within agile, agile within lean, or they have to be side by side. How could it be LeAgile? So any answer from this side?
So what we were talking about.
Thank you very much.
So what we were talking about is how in agile software development, you're going to expect change, because many times in software projects, what you're going to find is your finished project doesn't look anything like the original vision of what it was we were going to build. So like the example I use sometimes is, you never see an office building being constructed that somehow turns into a 100-square-acre office park. But you do see small software applications that balloon into giant pieces of functionality, sometimes just because the requirements continue to change and the stakeholders continue to add to the functionality required for the application. So I was saying that in the lean methodology, Six Sigma is reducing wasteful steps or wasteful processes, and lean is about reducing waste within processes. So agile teams, in order for them to build velocity and consistency and be able to predict things like, okay, this is the amount of, this is how many story points we can work on in a 2-week iteration or a 2-week sprint, they have to have very consistent, repeatable processes once the backlog work that's going to be done in that sprint has been determined. So I can see lean application inside of how an agile team works on a sprint, but I guess I don't see, like, with the welcoming of change in an agile project, and sometimes we have to, change things like our resources because we need to focus on different portions of the application, and you're supposed to have just enough in lean, just enough to do what has to get done and no more. So how do you change out resources and especially human resources, or even, capital resources? How do you change that stuff out when you're supposed to have just enough and you're supposed to remain flexible at the same time? So I guess I can see some correlation, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the sharpest, tool in the drawer there, but I'm a little confused, so.
Right. Yes, please.
Let me just comment from the point of view of an architect. I'm an architect.
Right.
And for construction, in my experience, we're discussing in our group, lean comes first.
Lean comes first, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because most clients want lean.
Right.
In the contract coming, no client wants to see his project escalate in cost.
Right.
It is therefore my role as an architect to stay lean by working creatively with the structural engineer to see how to create alternative structural scenarios to keep lean.
Right.
Particularly the choice of materials. Because you find out that a typical construction project, you can do a family house
right.
for 4 or 5 or 6 different costs depending on your choice of materials. So I'm supposed to be creative within the lean budget to look for alternatives to still achieve a good finish within a certain cost limitation. Because you discover as you go on, the clients begin to have new ideas. Right. I want to add this, I want to add that, I want to add that. How much will you add? I don't want to add any more money. So what do? You begin to do a trade-off in materials. You can have this new rooms, but let me reduce the finish from granite tiles to ceramic tiles.
Right.
Or down to PVC tiles. I can give you more rooms, but I'll lower my materials. That's being agile within the first parameter, which is lean. So the architect starts with trying to be lean, and then later using agile concepts to make sure he stays lean to satisfy his client, who keeps coming with new things I want to add, I want to add.
I'm very happy about one thing, that you are accommodative about agile. But at the same time, when we put lean first, there is no problem in it. Naturally, in construction projects which are of longer duration than IT projects, and they are more solid in nature, so we have to, depend more on no wastage, strict compliance with the contracts, and changing people, resources, as he said. So we have to be concerned about those things. But is there a way that we can think a bit more creatively out of the box and try to find ways where we can have work done by the fixed resources without the bounds of lean, or the minimal bounds of lean, and trying to make the construction work highly agile? Somebody gave me an example of a tower in Dubai. When they constructed the tower, they did not really know and understand how high it would go. But they did work out the foundations for an optimum number, whatever was in their mind, because they have no problem of money, so they can do anything. And then they kept changing the design throughout the construction of the tower. And many things happened in it, and this was a very good example of agility on the go. But I do understand that if you put in a lot of money and you are going with agility on a go, then probably you are not being lean. You are making a lot of waste. So we have to strike a balance, that we do not want to make more waste than a specific limit, and at the same time we want to be accommodative of the customer requirements. One more thing you said, that customer, probably you said customer, we deal with customer only on the contract thing, or what?
Yes, the client.
Client, yes.
Having more
ideas. Yeah, more ideas.
I want to add that.
Right.
And he's unwilling to increase his budget.
Right. So those ideas.
You have to start doing trade-offs.
Right. Trade-offs, exactly. So those ideas which are coming and those changes which you are trying to accommodate in construction, they are probably small changes, like the color of tiles or this and that. What if there are big changes? There are foundational changes. It becomes very difficult, right? So again, I would just say, normally people think agile and lean as two separate spheres, although they do intersect. Now, one thing is, from construction point of view, if we see, you probably deal with, this is agile and this is lean. Or maybe you are a bit more flexible and you do most of the things agile within lean. We can only be more successful if we can somehow change the equation, being agile and doing lean in an overlap, or doing lean inside of agile. I do understand this is something no engineer would ever agree. They won't like to have a complete agile environment. Yes, they need speed, but there would be certain requirements, there would be certain projects where it would be required to move very fast as well as move with the changing requirements. I know it is more easier in the software environment. Reason being, software projects are how much long? 2 months, 3 months, max a year or so. A construction project, yes. Yes, of course, but then it's the modular in nature. You do the modules and then you keep going about it. Why can't we do construction as modular? We do. Right?
Speaking on this topic Tuesday morning at 8:15, the use of Agile and Lean in IT in construction. So Glenn's not raising his hand. All right, thank you. So that's I think what we came here is that the thing that the two schools share in common is the emphasis on people, and the emphasis on single piece flow, and the emphasis on Kaizen and improvement. Toyota became famous because they were tapping into the intellectual power of ordinary workers. And Agile is about, like self-organizing empowered teams. And so there's some commonality there. What we started thinking that the difference is the key barrier to applying Agile in construction in a variety of fields is, what do you mean by flexible? And what do you mean by done? Because in the Agile community stemmed out of the IT sector, where done is a demo. And flexibility meant not just improving our process, lean, not just improving our quality, lean, but also, or not just changing process and changing quality, but changing scope.
Yes.
And in the lean context, we build cars. We don't change the scope. It's a car.
Yes.
But we do change our process, and we do change our quality. And so whenever you're trying to apply the concepts of single piece flow, small incremental progress, where's the risk? And I think universally in a lean organization, the risk is in quality, the risk is in waste, the risk is in customer satisfaction. And where the Agile community says is, okay, we believe in changing the process, we believe in changing quality, but we also believe in changing scope, because in some scenarios, in some sectors, the scope is the risk. We might be building the wrong thing, which is why you would use Agile during the architectural phase, because we might be building the wrong thing. So those were some of the conversations that we had.
Exactly.
It was interesting.
Exactly. That is really very nice. Anybody from other groups?
We have a very similar conversation.
Okay.
We was talking about you can use both, depends on the constraints you have. So if you are focused on budget and on schedule, maybe lean will be better. And if you are doing something that you don't have the scope definition and you are looking for quality or some uncertainty you have in the project, maybe you want to be more agile. That's why my friend architect, I'm an architect also, and we do more agile. We need to be agile to get new solutions and some things. And you have some politic tasks also on projects that you must be agile, but you don't want to be agile every time. You can do both, and it depends on the main project constraint. You may have an urgent construction, like a hospital that you must do it for tomorrow, and you have to be agile.
Yeah. You see, so we can come to the conclusion that in marrying up of lean and agile, one size does not fit all. Every project, every industry will have a different conception and flexibility. Maybe today what the construction industry is thinking, they might become a bit more flexible in certain projects, and in that the correlation between the two and the overlap between the two becomes apparently visible. On the other hand, there might be software projects which could become very rigid otherwise. So if that be the case, probably we can't have a single methodology, a lean agile methodology for construction. But we can always have some guidelines how to accommodate lean and agile together and fit them together as and when and where required. So what I'm looking for from this discussion is that number one, an agreement that construction can be lean agile. Number two, how should we move ahead and proceed ahead? Should we work towards a methodology? Should we work towards a framework? I'm not making any decisions right here. I'm just trying to put things which you are saying in words. And I did not write them down anywhere before coming here. I did not have any idea what I'll be talking here most of the time. But this is where I'm getting. What else you can add to it or correct me if you can. Yes.
Thanks. Now, with Agile existing within a lean environment, if you get change within a project or a scope, Agile gives you a little bit more flexibility to make the change. So would that not in itself create value within the lean by not having to revert back? If you're using a traditional waterfall method, the further you go down the waterfall, the more it costs and more risk to revert back to a previous or for change. So if you're doing your sprints and there's a change that occurs, it may less likely impact or cause you to have to go back. So would that not in itself create value to lean?
That is, you are trying to create value within an iteration of Agile. So what you are talking from the point of view of a software engineer, and you are doing an Agile project, and you are, within the Agile iteration, you are trying to create some value. So this is one of the ideas which we have already mapped there, right? This is very much possible. Anything is possible. Lean in Agile is possible. Agile in Lean is possible. Separately they are possible. But how flexibly we can put them together, we can marry them together, that is the point. I'll actually be showing you some existing systems which accommodate some of Lean and some of Agile. You all are aware of critical path method and critical chain method. In engineering, in construction, we have got some similar improvements to that. And in that, I at least could see a glimpse sometimes of a Lean, sometimes of Agile. So I can show you that and discuss about it. But before that, I would like to discuss the Agile Manifesto and see how can it apply to construction. Let me just skip away with this and where is the Agile Manifesto? Yeah, here it is. So this is the Agile Manifesto. All of you who know about Agile, you know that in Agile Manifesto there are these 4 things. First, individuals and interactions, the process interaction within a project, and the individuals, they are more respectable than the processes and tools. Meaning what? Resource is more important to me. The linkage of resource, the communication amongst the resources is more important to me. I'm not saying that processes and tools and procedures and guidelines are not important, but I'm saying people are more important. That's why I wrote resource here, because it's just not like in construction that if somebody is not good enough, just fire him or change the staff and do things. In Agile, we try to make best use of the available resources. Although I have no objection that we can, change staff under certain circumstances, but at the same time, if we can do projects in small modules or small iterations, and we fix the team for that iteration, which is already well planned, and then ask them to perform. So anyways, the next point was, in software, they say working software should be there. That is more important. It is more important to create a working software rather than to create a comprehensive documentation, a detailed plan. It doesn't say the detailed plan should not be there. It says, yes, you should make detailed plan or whatever kind of plan you want to make, but it is more important to have the ultimate product coming out of it. If there is no product and you have got a bulky documentation, that is of no use. So then it says customer collaboration is more important than the contract negotiation. That was a point being discussed in the last. Contract negotiation. In construction, we depend on contracts. Whatever is written in contract, we abide by it. What does Agile say? Agile say, interact with the customer and involve the customer all the time as a team member and accommodate whatever logical thinking, whatever logical change in scope he wants to bring. Contract is not a problem. We can always revise the contract with mutual understanding. So,
how many of you are in the construction industry? Have any of you ever been on a construction project that would embed all of these activities? No. I have, and I'm in construction for the last over 40 years. Habitat for Humanity. And that is exactly what because individually and over processes and tools, it's not the fastest, cheapest way to build a house. It's people helping people to build a home.
Exactly.
And it's teams, the working self-comprehensive documentation. I mean, let's face it, a house is pretty simple. It's what? Nails, screws, and glue hold it together? I mean, you know, come on, how basic can you get? It's the people building it. The thing of customer collaboration, definitely over contract negotiation. Now, they have to be a client, they've got to be accepted, you got to fit a very tight band, but it's about them helping it with it, making it work, and then responding to change. That's life. I mean, you've got a basic process, but it's the people working together to build a community. Now, would that ever work in commercial construction? I don't think so. Utilities, when they went from you call it waterfall, it was the traditional design, bid, build. They would start earlier and fast track. In our 3 to 5 year power plants, we're taking us 10 to 15 to 20 years to build, and then even longer to get a operating permit. You know, so we've tried things, but it's really the owner facility taking the risk and solving it. But exactly. Last night we were chatting, I saw this other way, as if I'm from Detroit. Yes, it went bankrupt, and so did General Motors, but you know, one of the things, but there's a lot of facilities like schools and churches that are empty, and they want to put them into new purposes, and I put my students in it. You know, was anyone there last night? Irma Temi was my student, very proud of him, but I even tasked him with a team of doing something with the closed Longfellow School, and they developed it into a community center. So they had to be very agile because, boy, it was a real mess. But then it was also interacting with the stakeholders of what they want and what they didn't want. It's like building a kitchen, they keep changing. So it's possible to do this, you know, with it, but it's really the situation, and then also how do you want to involve the people.
Exactly.
Probably a thing too, when I look at this, can we ever have lean and agile together in another application for projects? How many of you are members of PMI? How many of you have ever been on a PMI project? That's what they are. They're lean and they're agile.
Yes.
Because you're really doing this. Individuals and interactions, our very first tenet of our core values, staff and members working together give you the best product. It's not the cheapest and not the fastest, but it's going to give you the long term. So in that sense, we have in a way lean and agile together.
Yes.
But on construction, you know, there's a place, but I don't know how commonplace it's going to become.
We might be doing it already in a way, but we are not really conscious about it. Sir?
I love this, you know, I love the working software, I love the customer collaboration, I love responding to change. I'm kind of sitting beside two guys here who represent my clients in Nigeria on some major projects. They believe in comprehensive documentation, they believe in contract, they believe in plan. I'll need to have him speak because he's saying this, and I'm working on a project right now for them in Calabar where We need response to change, we need collaboration, we need software, and the system on a plan, a contract, documentation. You need to talk, because you need to go and change your ways.
Hey, I hate being pulled into this, but I'll tell you something. First of all, I think of this as a jigsaw puzzle. Jigsaw puzzles come in little pieces.
Right.
But then, would you be able to solve a jigsaw puzzle without a picture, the big picture in your mind? I don't think so. So it's about working with the big picture in mind while you work out the little pieces where they fit into the picture. Of course, the only problem with all this is that there's only one big picture. It's not likely to change over time like it does in real life. So for us to be able to manage all together, you start with a big picture, and then the little pieces of the puzzle could change as you go along.
Right.
That's the way we do it.
Actually, we are not asking you to change that. Even in Agile, there is an outline plan, which is expanded further in a smaller parts, and ultimately, the only difference between the waterfall and Agile is that in Agile, your phases are very small and they are time bound. Whereas in waterfall, you don't have time bound phases. You don't have a phase of 3 months or 6 months. What you say is, this is the purpose of the phase. Every phase is like a project by itself. It has to produce something. And when it finishes, then the phase finishes. On the other hand, in Agile, you have got very small phases, a week or 2 weeks, the limit you can fix yourself. Maybe, as Scrum says, from 2 to 6 weeks, but that is for software. For construction, we can decide by ourselves, may it be a 3-month phase. So for every 3-month portion, we will decide what work can be accommodated and fitted into this. We still will have the outline plan. So I'm just saying this is not completely different. You must just open up your mind a bit, and you will find that yes, if we try to be a bit more creative, we can do something about it, and then try to explore what are the benefits and advantages you are going to get out of it. Yes?
Yeah, Bill's exactly right in terms of contract. We just completed a nuclear construction project, $350 million using Agile, but we as the owner took all the risk. We had time and material contracts, we directed all the work ourselves, we had time and material contracts with the architect, with the engineer, with the construction contractors, with commissioning, with all the folks. We saved a bunch of money, we did it faster than we ever done a project before, but again, we took all the risk in terms of contract.
Exactly. So there might have been some waste, which you took the risk to accept. Yeah. Okay. So the only thing which I can change in the Agile Manifesto for construction is change the word software product. Make it working product over comprehensive documentation. Rest everything can apply to any project in the world, no matter even if it is a construction project. This is one. Now I will take you to, I think we have discussed this. Right. Can Lean and Agile be used together in construction? Now we have got 2 very interesting mechanisms, techniques available in construction. One is called LP, that is Last Planner System. And one is LBMS, that is Location Based Management System. I'll just very briefly explain it to you. In Last Planner, there are layers of planning happening. Top level planning, the outline plan, is done by the bosses and they set their targets. Second tier, further planning, more detailed planning, and the actual planning is done at the 5th level by the person who has actually to do the construction. He is the most detailed planner. This is called the last planner. When I'll show you the diagram of last planner, you would be able to relate it to lean as well as agile. On the other hand, we have location-based management systems. You construct a house at one place, it would not be the same to construct a similar house at another place. So the schedules might be different, transportation needs, operational research might be different for each thing. So ultimately, you can have an overall plan for a huge complex project, but various modules of that project which are at different location may have their own separate location-based schedule, which is linked upwards by the main outline plan. So both these systems are essentially lean by nature, but as I see them, I could find some agile in both of them. So if at all that much agility is possible, why can't we enhance it and try to use it in some construction projects ultimately? So both of them focus on decreasing the waste. Naturally, their primary aim is being lean. So both are trying to decrease the waste and increase the productivity. So basically they are lean. But now let us have a look at this. This is a last planner system. These are the layers of a last planner. The master schedule is being created at the top, where just the milestones and the key dates are established. What is the products you want, when you want them. Broad planning. The next level is phase schedule. This is also broad planning. It is a little bit more detailed. This is just like we plan the handoffs from one phase to the other. What will one phase give to the next phase? So these specify the hands-offs between the trades. These two steps are important and necessary and mandatory for any kind of construction project. You can go into the third level and plan it a little more. This is look ahead plan. This is the plan which you revise, which what do Prince 2 people call it? I just forgot about it. Anyways, this is the project management plan update kind of a thing. Any change request when it is accommodated, plan is amended. So this is a look at plan. So if there is no change, this third layer will not be required. But naturally, there is always a change.
Management by exception.
Yeah. So this is management by exceptions. So you can do that. Now look at the lowest two layers. Here, this is although the whole thing is lean, but these last two parts are very similar to what we see in Agile. Number one, first of all, there is a feedback cycle. Means there is an interaction with the customer consistently and continuously at the lowest level, not at the top level, at the lowest level, where the things have to be created and handed over. There are weekly work plans going on, and there is progress tracking happening. These two levels and their relation with the feedback, I can see a glimpse of Agile here. Although the whole system is lean, but there is some agility going on within this. And if we can flexibly, if you feel a project like this in which you can afford to have some waste and you have got national emergency going on, probably you can go for enhancing the agility at the bottom level and reducing the things which are at the top. Similarly, just have a look at it from the point of view of PMBOK. We plan, we execute, monitor and control, and what is happening inside? Inside the project, always there are iterations happening. We have daily stand-ups like in Scrum. In Scrum, we have daily stand-ups, daily reporting, what's happening. Then we have we are executing the work, and this is basically a part of monitoring and control. Daily we are having an eye on what is happening all the time. And this is being weekly reported, sorry. And this is just expanded the last 2 levels. Now, where is it? Sorry. I think I have missed the diagram for the location-based management system, but I have some points written down here. Right. There is a supply chain mechanism available for Lean Agile. We can even translate that into construction. In that, it says that if you decrease the predictability, your supply characteristics, short lead time and long lead time would be increased. So with a shorter lead time, you are more predictable from the supply chain point of view, not from construction. For short lead time, you are more predictable. For a short time, if you are not predictable, your scope is not very clear, then you are going agile. If it's a long lead time, then you have to plan. You cannot be agile, you have to be lean. But only if lead time is long and your scope is not clear, we can be lean agile. So look at it from a construction point of view. In construction, related with the tools we use, if it's a short lead time and it is predictable, we are normally using in waterfall critical chain and critical path methods. That's we commonly use, right? If you are on long lead time and it is predictable, then it is location-based management system you should be using. It is more lean. It is more lean. You remember last planner was lean, but it had more elements of agile. This is towards the unpredictability. And if you are talking about long lead time and unpredictability, this is classically a lean agile system, which we are trying to derive here. I don't have a system, but yes, with the marriage of these two things, probably someday we can come up with a lean agile construction system. This is what we wanted to create. Right. So this is all what I had. If you have any questions or comments, I would invite more comments. Questions are not important. More comments, because I actually want to carry some information with me from this session. So if you any question or comments, please.
Thank you, Suhail. It was a really good, thought-provoking presentation, and I really started to get excited when you wrote resources on the flip chart there, because I think there are some common constraints we can think about apart from contract and apart from resources in construction. I think the critical path, like you said, is number one in my experience for how agile or how lean you can be. But I was thinking also that the complexity of the resources that you need, the degree of flexibility of the stakeholder is huge if you're going to be able to build something that wasn't envisioned at first versus something that was already set in stone, or if you took over the project after the design phase. So those are my comments. I mean, it's a very good topic to think about, and
of course.
Thanks for coming.
Most welcome.
There's an entire book on the question of discipline versus agile, written by two IT professors, Barry Boehm and Richard Turner. Dr. Richard Turner was a part of the committee that worked with IEEE to define the software extension of the PMBOK guide. And in their book is called Balancing Agility and Discipline. They went with a risk-driven selection approach. And that risk, and so the question any project manager needs to answer is, where's the risk? Because we're in the risk management business. Project management is risk management. The risk of not getting it done, the risk of getting it done over budget, the risk of having angry customers. And so where follow the risk, that will tell you which techniques to implement in which context. That was an interesting book that helped me, that framed the discussion. Now, of course, your Agile fundamentalists will say, well, we're disciplined too. So beware the dogma and go for the practical.
That's very interesting. You can note down my email address, and if you have any suggestions, you can even send me later as well. Anything else? I think I really enjoyed this session, and you must have also, because it's more of something interactive, and a brainstorming exercise was going on. Let us prepare for the next session sometime when we will be coming up with some framework for Lean Agile. So I'll be looking forward for your suggestions. Thank you very much.